Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 7 of the Good Times podcast. This is the first solo episode we have up to now because we got to do the jersey giveaway. We have 2023 movies to talk about up to June, and then just a solo episode. First, we're going to start off with the jersey giveaway. We only had 7 people enter. I mean, it is what it is. This podcast is new. A lot of people are already subscribed and didn't want to submit it. And, some of them were people I know. So if somebody I know won, I'm sorry. Uh, but yeah, so I have a generator right here, 1 through 7, and we'll be able to see who the winner of the jersey is. Rolling right now. I'm going to hit it a few times, actually. And stop. Number 4. I don't know who number 4 is. Let's read it. All right. I don't know your name, but Mason's brother, congratulations. You won the Trayvon Diggs jersey. I'll get with you, old Mason Romo. Shout out Mason for coming on the podcast. We'll have him on eventually again, but shout out you. You won the jersey. We have some more giveaways coming soon. We're at 38 subs right now, guys. In the last episode, I thanked y'all for like 20 something, and we're almost at 40. So come on, let's get to 40 after this. If we're just going to keep climbing, keep getting better production. I've been doing a lot of research about everything, trying to make this podcast the best I can for everybody. But time to get into the juice. The number one reason I wanted to come up on here is because there's 3 movies I really want to talk about: Spider-Verse, Flash, and then Indiana Jones. I have seen 11 movies this year, I believe, up to now, and I have my ranking of all of them of this year. Me and my girlfriend Annie, he love to go see movies together. So anytime there's a movie we both kind of want to see, we'll go see it. In my last place of the movie I've seen so far, out of 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. At 11th place, I have The Little Mermaid. However, it's just not for me. I can enjoy a lot of Disney movies, but feel like if you watched it, I've never seen The Little Mermaid before, and the end fight was just the lady all big, the octopus lady all big, and I just didn't really care for it. I gave that a 6.5 out of 10. I mean, I still enjoyed it. I still enjoyed a lot of songs, but this wasn't for me. At number 10, I have No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence. It was actually really funny, but the ending was kind of dumb. Uh, just so you know, spoilers for every movie that's coming up. So if you haven't seen the movie, skip over it. I don't really care if y'all don't like. It's gonna be spoilers, so if y'all get spoiled, that's your fault because I'm warning y'all. She didn't get with the guy at the end, and I get there is a little bit of an age difference, but they mesh so well together the whole movie. And if you're gonna go for it, go for it. I feel like at number 10, I have Creed 3. A bunch of people really like this movie. Maybe it's because I'm not an anime watcher. I didn't appreciate it, but I mean, it was decent. It wasn't that bad. I gave it a 7 out of 10. It was my least favorite Creed movie, and like Rocky 1, Rocky 2, Rocky 4 are all better than it. Maybe Rocky 3. Coming up at, that was 9. So 8th place, I have Fast 10. This movie was actually pretty sick. It's a Fast and Furious movie. It's not good. It's a lot of dumb action. This was Annie's least favorite movie of the year so far. I enjoyed it though. It was some cool action. It's a Fast and Furious movie. It's exactly what you're signing up for. Give it a 7.5 out of 10. After this, in 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. At 7th place, we got The Machine. Bert Kreischer, one of my favorite comedians' movies. Of course, I went and saw and supported it. But all these movies ahead of it are billion-dollar potential movies. So, yeah, I'm going to have them higher. It was so funny. It was honestly a great movie. I have no complaints on it. But it's a 7.5 out of 10 when you compare it to some of the other movies I've seen this year. Coming in at 6th place, we got Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I've said this before, I'll say it again. This was the most overhated movie. What does it have on Rotten Tomatoes? On Rotten Tomatoes, it's the worst um Marvel movie, which is crazy to me that it's that low. A 46% tomato meter, but an 82% audience score, so that kind of shows. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. My girlfriend had no clue about the negative reviews, and I knew it was getting shit on in the box office. Not the box office, I'm sorry. On Rotten Tomatoes, and all the critics were really hating it. I knew that going into it, and I left the movie surprised. I was like, that was good. That was better than the second one. Not as good as the first one, but it was a good MCU movie. It felt like a Star Wars movie in the MCU movie. A Star Wars movie in the MCU. I thoroughly enjoyed it. and it's one of Annie's favorite MCU movies. She came out of it ecstatic. She had it higher than a lot of movies that we saw this year. Coming in at next is Indiana Jones 5. So this is where we're going to break down into Indiana Jones, the movie that just came out. I have it a 7.7 out of 10. I would have had it a lot higher, but spoiler alerts coming up. So in the ending, for those who watched it, the lady character in the movie was just, I just didn't like her character. She was bad the whole movie and was just not a good character, and they really wanted us to like her, and it just didn't have that grasp. And in the end, Indiana Jones just want to get left behind and die with Archimedes, which is kind of dumb for him to leave behind and die if they can save him. But if you're gonna almost kill him, especially if you're James Mangold, who killed off Logan in one of the best movies ever, and that's what makes a movie good, and then you just have your main character get knocked out, and then it flash forwards and the movie ends 5 minutes later, I literally was so upset out loud watching that movie in the movie theater. I embarrassed my girlfriend. And everybody I talked to after, because after I like to go movies, I like to talk to the people who are around me to see what they thought. And I asked them, I was like, is that dumb or is that just me? They're like, no, yeah, that's pretty silly. No one online's talking about it. I don't know why. The movie definitely drags for a little bit. I feel like if they could have made it around the 2 hour mark, cut out 24 minutes in between, and not have done that stupid ending somehow, this could have been a really good movie, actually. But yeah, 7.7 out of 10 is not bad at all. Coming in at fourth place on the year, we got the Super Mario Bros. Movie. My little brother is a huge Mario fan. I took him to see this. It's not only his favorite movie of all time, but my fourth favorite movie of the year. It's a great kids movie. You go into it, they didn't do no woke BS that you thought they would. They did the Mario Kart scenes, which was so sick. And the action sequences were great, and the CGI was great. I have no complaints about this movie. I give it an 8 out of 10. It's a kids movie. I don't have any problems with it. Oh, and I loved at the end they had Luigi help Mario just as much defeat Bowser. Luigi was a main part in the end of that movie, and that was sick. I really love that. Coming to our top three, the three most movies I want to talk about. We have Flash. So many people are hating on Flash as well, and I get it. Ezra Miller's a bad guy. I get it. But dude, this movie was so good, and DC fans are so frustrating because they don't show up in theaters. They always talk this mess online. DC sucks. DC all this and that. But when you're promised a good movie and everybody says it's not good, I don't know. It has a 64% tomato meter, but an 84% audience score, which makes sense. If you're a DC fan, you'll like this movie. A lot of people I watch say they don't like this movie. The Escape podcast, I'm a big fan of them. Alex does not like that movie, and I don't necessarily understand why. Michael Keaton was the greatest Batman we've ever gotten. Was Michael Keaton in this movie, in my opinion. The action was sick. He did stuff that Batman does. I did not like that Ben Affleck almost fell and Wonder Woman caught him. That's a little silly because it's Batman. Batman doesn't typically get a whole lot of help from other people. And people complain about the comedy. They've never watched like a Justice League cartoon or anything. Flash is a one-liner. He's not necessarily Spider-Man when he's fighting. He's cracking jokes, but when he's kind of socially awkward, and he's always been that way. And it frustrates me that some people are like, he's not Spider-Man. It's too funny. I thought this movie was great. The CGI is questionable at some points. But listen, this is what I'm going to say. This is a hot topic. If Grant Gustin would have started in The Flash, y'all would have been praising this movie more than anything. It'd be a lot higher on everybody's list if Grant Gustin started in it. But since the fact that Ezra Miller, who's very controversial, is starting in it, that's why it's getting bad reviews, and it's understandable when you have this big of a movie and you have what happened, and you have him show up at the premiere, which is pretty silly. I get it, but people are hating on this movie way too much. It's a great DC movie. It's some of the best Justice League stuff we've gotten up to date. What confuses me is how they had George Clooney show up at the end. It would have made way more sense if you're just going to have somebody show up at the end that's not going to be your Batman and Batman Brave into the Bold. I don't know how they're gonna tie this into the new universe with Flash, because Ezra Miller is not gonna be the Flash, I guarantee you. And Jason Momoa, I don't know if he's gonna be Aquaman after his next movie. I don't know what they're gonna do. But George Clooney showing up was cool for the fans, and I get they wanted to do Christian Bale because that would have been crazy. But it would have been cooler if it was just Keaton because it connects back to the end, and he died. And I feel like it would have been a lot cooler if it would have been Keaton at the end. I get they wanted Bale, so George Clooney's kind of the next best thing with what they wanted to do. I don't know how this is going to tie into the DC coming up. It'll be interesting to see. I'm very curious. And then another thing I wanted to talk about, Ezra Miller, say what you want about him, he did so good this movie. At the beginning, you're kind of watching him and you see Ezra Miller. He sucked me into it. It wasn't watching this guy who's done all this wrong stuff. It was watching Barry Allen. I genuinely felt like I was watching the old school Flash in the Justice League. When you're watching all the other people in the Justice League do the busy stuff, he's going saving them. And since it's his movie, they get to do a lot of cool stuff showing how he helps the Justice League and do a 15-minute sequence of him saving babies, which is a side mission to, if this whole thing was a Justice League movie, it wouldn't be shown that much, but since it's a Flash movie, they show it. And I love that, and I think it's great. Coming next at a 9.5 out of 10. It's really tied with my first place, but it's a cartoon, so it sucks you out just a little bit because it's not as good as like a live action. But number 2, Across the Spider-Verse. Oh my god, this movie's so good. I've seen it twice already. I've asked my girlfriend to go see it like three more times. I want to go see it by myself, and I will eventually, but I've just been kind of busy when I have personal time versus when, if me and her are hanging out, I'm like, let's go watch a movie, you know? And it's a 9.5 out of 10. The only problem is the ending's a little, if you don't expect that it's going to be a part 2 coming up, it's a little frustrating, and I get that. I knew there was going to be a part 2. My girlfriend didn't, and the second time around, she enjoyed it a lot more because it didn't end on the cliffhanger. But what I want to know is, and this is going to be great for Beyond the Spider-Verse, what are they going to do with the fact that if Miles Morales was never supposed to happen, right, because he got bit by Earth 42 spider, how come he needs his captain to die if he's not a canon event? Why does a canon event need to happen to him? And I think that's going to be the solution to it, so hopefully I can pull this clip up in March next year, and I'm right. But that's just my biggest question with it all, is what are they going to do with Spider-Man? In that, he's not a canon event, so what's supposed to happen? But, man, him running away from all the spiders, and it was so cool when he told his mom, and he was like, I took them all. I learned how strong I was. Obviously, they threw you off with what was happening, but when you're watching that, it's like such a good Spider-Man moment, him realizing how powerful he is. Another thing that kind of bugs me is that the whole Spider Society is filled with Spider-Man, and they're just okay with letting people die. Because the principle of Spider-Man is not that, so it's a little silly when you sit there and think about it. Especially, I don't know. It's not as good as the first one. I think if you're saying that as recency bias, the first one will always be better. This is still top 3 Spider-Man movies, no question. I think the first one, and Spider-Man 2, or No Way Home. Actually, I don't know. It might be number 4. But number 1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. That movie was so sick. I saw it twice, and it was so good. My girlfriend was like, let's go see it again. Versus me asking. If we see a movie again, it's typically me. She wanted to go see it again because she liked it so much. And of course, I was down to go see it again. The Beastie Boys are one of my favorite bands, so when the No Sleep Till Darren, I looked at it, I was like, no way. No way. And that whole hallway scene, I'm just sitting there with my mouth open, gas wide. It was so good, so entertaining. I'm so proud of what James Gunn has done, and it shows me DC's in great hands, and Marvel might not be in great hands because that was the best movie they've had in like 5 movies. And it was James Gunn. He's going to DC now, so it'll be interesting. The future, obviously, Marvel's in good hands. They have Deadpool coming up. They got a whole lot, which we're going to slide into Deadpool in a second. But that was my movies of the year. Leave in the comments if y'all thought I was wrong. I still need to see Indiana Jones and Flash again, so maybe my ratings change a little bit, and I will go see him again. But that is that, ladies and gentlemen. So, I wanted to discuss Deadpool 3 news/theories. So it's been shown that Mobius, Owen Wilson is in it, and leaks that Daredevil and Gambit are in the movie, which is really cool. And in the Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe, Gambit's brutally murdered in the beginning of it. So that's my theory: is Gambit's gonna die. Channing Tatum's gonna die in the very beginning as Gambit. He's gonna get to play and he's gonna die, and it sucks because you want to play that character for so long, so it's stupid. But if you want to play a character for so long and your friend's like, hey, you just want to die real fast, but you finally get to play the character you never got to play, why wouldn't he? Channing Tatum was in the Bullet Train for a little bit. Brad Pitt and all of them, they're all cool together. So I really do believe that. And Ben Affleck as Daredevil, which is pretty cool. So I think Gambit's gonna die starting off at the beginning, and then they're gonna go through and murder the whole X-Men universe. If they could pull that off and then he goes to a new universe and Mobius is chasing after him or something, Deadpool 3 could be really good. And it could be what Multiverse of Madness wasn't. I think no matter what, with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman in a movie, it's going to be so entertaining no matter what. And it's going to be funny no matter what. But this has potential to be one of the better movies of all time if they do everything right. Deadpool 2 was great, but the Juggernaut getting electrocuted up his ass kind of pisses me off, and that's why I have the first Deadpool over it, because they did Juggernaut so dirty. And I get it's a comedy, but Juggernaut's one of the most powerful characters, and let alone he wouldn't get beat by Colossus, let alone get electrocuted in his ass, and so that really bugs me. But yeah, Deadpool 3 I'm pretty excited for. Let me know what y'all think about the theory down below. If y'all think that's at all something that could happen, I think that'd be really cool, really interesting. And then, great news to me. The Fantastic Four cast has fallen through. Woo! Oh man, Adam Driver is a great actor. Margot Robbie's a great actor. I don't think they're Sue Storm and Reed Richards. I don't think they'd have chemistry on screen. I don't think all that. I think there's way better. I think the girl from The Boys, Starlight, would be way better. I think they try to get Emma Stone. I think she'd be great. I think Mila Kunis would be better than Margot Robbie. Margot Robbie's probably a better actress than all of them. But I don't see her as Sue Storm. I just don't. I don't picture an Adam Driver. I don't see as Reed Richards. I think there's a lot better choices. I think John Krasinski would be better. I think Penn Badgley is my choice, and he's been my choice for a long time. And I just hope, I've said this for so long, they could cast anybody, even more than Penn Badgley as Mr. Fantastic. Rudy Panko needs to be the Human Torch. He's ripped, he's perfect, he's young, he will be the best Human Torch there is. I guarantee it. But shout out Nala. I typically am not able to have her in the room whenever I have guests because she's super paranoid and she just, if any of my guests who've been here, they know she just sits there and barks the whole time. But that's my beautiful Australian Shepherd. That's my dog. Y'all have seen my other dog, Blue. She's probably just chilling in bed right now. But yeah, I think Fantastic Four, I think Rudy Panko will be a beast.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
She's leaving. I'm very excited to see on what they're going to do. I really am. And I feel like there's a lot of potential both ways. There's a lot of potential for them to mess up, and there's a lot of potential for them to do good. The Fantastic Four is so easy to mess up, and they're so easy to get right in the same way. And I was explaining to Annie the other day, in comics, the Fantastic Four is almost bigger than the Avengers. They are bigger. They're probably a little bit behind the X-Men, and neither of those have really been done super justice, and so there's a lot coming good for the MCU coming up. They could do a lot good, but these glasses hurt my head sometimes, bruh. But I need them to see. Alright, we're going to finish off the podcast. This was one of the hardest things I've had to do. I did it last night in preparation for this episode. I ranked my top 25 comic book movie/TV show, anything comic book, ever. I have it written down right here. Honorable mentions, we have The Batman, we have Shazam, Loki, Batman Begins, and The Joker. They're all great. I all love them. Some days I might put them in the top 25 and take something out. But just as of right now, this is what we got. This is what we're rocking with. Coming in at 25, we have the show Peacemaker. This was the show I was more excited to watch every week than some of the other shows I have on here. But I get it's not as well written as some of these shows. Obviously, James Gunn's a beast and he knows how to write. I love dark comedy and I love rated R stuff where people get shot in the face. So automatically, this is probably going to be in the list. But I respect that I might like it better than some stuff, but other stuff is better. So this is my top 25, but I also took into account, okay, I get this film is flawed, but I still like it, so I'm not going to put it exactly where it'd be on my favorites. So it's a little bit of mix of everything. Coming in at 24, we have the first Iron Man. I mean, no, who knows where comic book movies would be, the MCU would be without this movie. You don't know where to tell where it would all be. Next, at 23, we have The Boys. The Boys could be higher, but I think it's obvious the kind of show it is. It's a funny show, it's a comedy show, more than it is a superhero show. And I guess it is a superhero show, and I love it, and I can't really think wrong of it. But you can't put it over some of the Marvel and DC stuff just because the Boys comics kind of suck, and you never read the Boys comics before the show. And so, yeah. At 22, we have The Flash. Man, oh man, oh man, I just saw this movie just a few weeks ago. I loved it so much. Shout out to everybody who participated in that movie and worked their butts on it. And it's cool that it still got to get made with everything that happened. At 21, we have Deadpool 2. This one's funnier. This one I might like more than the first one, but Juggernaut is so flawed and the kid's kind of annoying and they do a lot, so I get why people say Deadpool's better. But this one's funnier and this one has better action for sure. At number 20, we have Thor Ragnarok. Taika Waititi hit a home run and then proceeded to strike out right after with Thor Love and Thunder. Thor Love and Thunder is one of the most disappointment I've ever had in a movie theater. Probably under Indiana Jones leaving that theater, I was pretty upset. But Ragnarok's so perfect. They did Hulk great. They did Thor great. They did everything great. They did the right amounts of badassness and funniness. At 19, this is low for some people. I have the first Avengers. I think the Joss Whedonness shows once you get compared to like Infinity War, Civil War, and Endgame versus the Russo brothers. I feel like they're on a whole nother playing field than Josh Whedon on some parts. But God, this movie's still so great, and team up movies would not be possible without it. At number 18, we have Moon Knight. With this and Peacemaker, I would wake up every day at like 6 a.m., watch it, and then watch it that night with Anaheem. I love this show. People hate on it, and I loved it. And I get it's a little flawed, and it could have been a little better. But man, this show is pretty. The show is pretty good. At number 17, we have The Suicide Squad. This is kind of low as now that I think about it, but this movie is so good. This is the perfect movie for James Gunn without a doubt. And like I said, I love rated R, dark comic book movies. At number 16, and I know, don't yell at me, don't yell at me, don't yell at me. I have Across the Spider-Verse. This is kind of preference, and I think it being a comic book movie shows it. Alright guys, I have to take off my glasses because my face is hurting so bad. I think it being a comic book movie that's where it struggles for me just a little bit. Obviously this movie's great and I rated it a 9.5 out of 10. But I'm fitting in preference a little more on this one. And at 15 above I have Daredevil. Daredevil might not be better. It has a lot of filler. But the gray of Daredevil is so good. I have not seen season 3, which is apparently like one of the best seasons. I know. But anytime I can get Annie to get interested in a show like I did Daredevil, that's how I can kind of tell it's really good. Coming in at 14, the last TV show I have is The Punisher. Season 1 of The Punisher is some of the best comic book stuff you get. I would finish an episode and it was like, oh, I have to watch another one. It was so good. Frank's such a badass. I can't think of anything wrong with it, but it's not some of the other stuff, some of the iconicness we have above this list. So that's why it's at 14. I maybe even put a little higher on like a favorites list. And if you want to see a purely favorite list, it'd be a lot differently. But there's so many good movies that I can't deny are great and I still enjoy. But like for example, like Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire, that could be in my 25 favorites because it was such a favorite of mine as a kid. But it does. You're gonna put in the 25 comic book movies, you know. Coming in at 13, we have Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I have it kind of lower, just based off of preference, and it's not a big old superhero movie, team up movie. That's why you can see a lot of these movies in here are superhero team up movies. Anytime you get that, it's gonna be a great movie. So obviously there's movies above The Winter Soldier, but this movie there's not a problem with it, of course. It easily, if someone's had it in their top 10, I don't blame them. Coming in at number 12, we have Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire. This movie, oh, it's so good. Just MJ bugs me so much in this movie, and it throws me off so much. It's beautiful for it being 2002, the year I was born. This movie came out. Or no, did it come out 2004? Let's see. I think it came out 2004, actually. Yeah, it came out. So I was 2 when this movie came out. So that just tells you, I mean, pretty freaking good. At number 11, we have Logan. This movie is phenomenal. I guess it kind of drags just a little bit. Just a little bit. It drags just a little bit. That's obviously this movie's still like S tier comic book movies, and it's hard for me. I'm just naming bad about it because I could sit here and name good about it all day and talk about what I love about it. But it's at 11, so I kind of have to say it just drags a little bit for me, and it suffers being an X-Men movie just a little bit. At number 10, we have Deadpool, which is crazy. I know I have Deadpool above Logan, but Deadpool is just so funny. It's such a good story, and I don't think they could have done that movie any better than they did it. At number 9, we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Could be recency bias just a little bit, but I enjoy this movie so much. It was one of the best theater experiences I had behind Endgame and No Way Home, which is above this in this movie. The No Sleep Till Brooklyn. Without that, I don't know where this movie would be placed, but just because of that, it cracks my top 10. Right above it, I had the first Guardians of the Galaxy. I like Volume 3 better, but the first one's a better movie. When you saw it for the first time, you're pleasantly surprised at what James Gunn was able to do. It feels like a Star Wars movie inside the MCU, which is sick, and I have no problem. I can't think of anything wrong with a lot of these movies. Coming above it, we have Zack Snyder's Justice League. This is something you kind of need to watch. Once you watch it for like the third time, you really realize how good it is because you miss so much every time because it's 4 hours. Cyborg's story's so beautiful, and they changed it up a little bit. Zack Snyder, I didn't like what he did with Superman. I did not like what he did with Batman. Those weren't kind of things in this movie. The darker Batman wasn't really a whole topic. Obviously, there's some parts with Batman that piss me off, and there's some parts with Superman that piss me off in this movie. Flash is done perfectly. Wonder Woman's done perfectly. Aquaman's done perfectly. Cyborg's done better than everybody. And what they kind of changed up with him, putting him in the Justice League instead of the Teen Titans, making him kind of a sadder character, was so good. If they did Superman and Batman right, this probably be number 1. Coming in at number 6, we have Captain America: Civil War. What a great movie. Coming in at 6, we have Captain America: Civil War. What a great movie. Such a great movie. I can't think of anything wrong with it at all. It's just, it's an Avengers movie inside of a Captain America movie. They set Tony Stark up as a villain almost, as the antagonist, which is great, and you root for him because he's kind of right. Bucky killed his mom. Kind of agree with him. Number 5, this is my favorite, without a doubt. No movie means more to me than this, but the 4 movies ahead of it, I don't think you can argue with. No Way Home. So good. It's the best theater experience you ever had. Toby coming back, Andrew coming back, them all swinging together. It's the best. It's the best Spider-Man movie in my opinion. I think actually it's not the best Spider-Man movie in my opinion. Scratch that out because of what's ahead of it. But God, this movie's so great. Aunt May telling him, with great power comes great responsibility, out of nowhere. You never expected that. Hits you home. It hits you home like a Spider-Man film should. At number 4, we have Avengers Endgame. Oh, this movie has so many problems. They did Thor so dirty, did Hulk so dirty. But the last 45 minutes are some of the best comic book stuff you're going to get. And you can't sit here and be like, okay, Zack Snyder's Justice League versus Endgame. You can't put Zack Snyder's Justice League ahead of it, I don't think. Because the last fights are so different. Avengers Endgame, that last, you're sitting on the edge of your seat and you have to respect it, I think, without a doubt. At number 3, I have Into the Spider-Verse. When I first watched this movie, I did not know what to expect, and I was blown away. The second time I watched it with my family, because I was like, y'all have to watch this movie. We watched it at the lake house. Everybody was blown away. It's the kind of movie where you put it on, and if somebody doesn't know about it, they're not invested at the beginning, but they're invested at the end. I showed it to Annie, and she was like, I don't want to watch a cartoon. I told her, I was like, this is the best Spider-Man movie. She's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. She even agrees this is the best Spider-Man movie. The leap of faith scene, that's why I have it so much higher of Across the Spider-Verse, because it doesn't really give you that moment of the leap of faith does. Just I love Into the Spider-Verse. It's so good. And the fact that it's a cartoon and it beats out Endgame, I mean, come on. At number 2, I have The Dark Knight. This movie's so good. Heath Ledger's perfect. Christian Bale's perfect. Where is she? His voice is a little dark sometimes, but his Christian Bale's perfect. Joker kind of wins but loses at the same time, and it's such a different villain where he has no motivation really. He's just crazy. It's pretty interesting. I think this movie can drag just a little bit. It can drag just a little bit. It's hard to sit down and watch this movie fully if it's your first time watching it or if you're not that big of a comic book fan. I could see why people who don't like comic book movies might not like this movie. Maybe, I don't know. I can't think of anything wrong with it at all, but I've heard people say it can drag a little bit. To me, not necessarily because it sets up every character so well, but I get people who say that. It's a long movie. Coming in at number 1, zero flaws, in my opinion, Infinity War, except the fact that they did Hulk a little dirty. Hulk should have busted out of the Hulk armor, without a doubt. So, God, every time you watch Thor show up, when you watch Iron Man battle it out with Thanos, it's so exciting, dude. Oh, I can put this movie on and just love it every day of the week. I think my two favorites go between No Way Home and Infinity War. Didn't get to watch this as a Marvel fan. I really became a Marvel fan in Far From Home / Endgame. Endgame Far From Home is where I really got introduced because I saw Endgame in theater. But Far From Home was me going out because I was so curious about it. Endgame, I saw friends kind of type deal. So that's my top 25 movies. Some of y'all are going to disagree. Let me know what y'all think. Let me know what y'all think about this solo episode. Hopefully it all went good. Hopefully I wasn't too awkward. My camera to eye quality, me looking at the camera is probably terrible. But that's something I'm just going to get better at with time. This will probably be my least viewed episode. So yeah, F it. Honestly, I don't really care. My last episode only got 37 views. And I'm going to be honest, it's hard to stay motivated sometimes with that. But what keeps me motivated is this is something I really want to do. So if you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. I enjoy doing this. I'm going to grind harder than anybody. I promise. I'm going to grind harder. Make this look good. Make it look good for everybody. Thank y'all for checking out this episode. Subscribe to the Good Times Podcast. Let's race to 100. We're almost at 40. Let's race to 100 faster than we got to 40. I'll check y'all later. Thank y'all.